What animal has the smallest/largest brain?
So the elephant had the largest brain of any land animal, but the animal with the biggest brain of all is a sperm whale. And the sperm whale had a brain that weighs 7 kilograms, which is almost 6 times as much as your human brain weighs. With smallest brains, it's a bit difficult to tell because it all depends on, what really counts as a brain. But something like a worm had a really tiny brain, so that might be an example.
How many brain cells do you have?
So nerves and brain cells are the same thing. Normally when it's a cell in your head, we call it a brain cell or a neuron. And when it's a cell that kind of goes from your brain to all the different muscles of your body to help your muscles move, that's when we call it a nerve. So inside your head, you have about 100 billion of these neurons, these brain cells. And even more than that, you have billions and billions and billions of cells called glial cells, which don't actually do the sort of thinking and the actions that neurons do, but they surround the neurons and they provide nutrition and structure, and they help the neurons function. So you have hundreds and hundreds of billions of cells in your skull, and that number is thought to be more than the number of stars in our galaxy. So it's an incredibly huge number, and each of the 100 billion neurons in your brain forms connections with up to 10,000 other neurons. And it's these connections that kind of help your brain, different parts of your brain, talk to each other and process information. And so between all of that, you have trillions and trillions and trillions of little connections between all of your brain cells in your head.
Is your brain still alive when you die?
Okay, imagine how is your brain working. So basically your heart will push all the blood into your brain and bring some nutrition and oxygen. So if you die and your heart will just stop pumping, then your brain will get nothing from your heart. So your brain will be also stop working as well. So it will just other part of your body, so be decomposed and just into dirt. Yes.
How does thought work?
It's a really good question, how thought works. So psychologists are people who think about this a lot, funnily enough, and they've got theories about what thought is, and it's composed of different mental processes like memory and perception and emotion and other things like that. But one of the great unanswered questions is how those thoughts and those thought processes map onto activity in the brain. We know the brain's important because if we take out your brain, you're not going to be doing any thinking, but how the actual activity in your brain relates to the thoughts you have is what neuroscientists and cognitive neuroscientists are trying to do every day, right now, in research centres and universities around the world.
Does the size of your brain affect how you think?
This is a very good question. It very much depends on what you mean by thinking. Sometimes the size of your brain, especially the back of your brain, affects how you see the things around you. But, for example, when you want to reason about a problem or solve a mathematical equation, the size of your brain doesn't really affect that.
How big can a brain be?
Well, brains can be all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Some animals have much larger brains than others. So, for example, whales probably have the largest brains. And I suppose the only limiting factor on what size a brain can be is that it can't be so large that that you can't get enough blood or oxygen to it to keep it alive. And other than that, I mean, and also I suppose the fact that most brains are found within some kind of skull, and the brain can't get any larger than the skull, otherwise it's going to cause damage.